order. May we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Cavill,
Here.
Mr. Kramer,
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Klimkowitz, here, Mr. Rosenblum,
Here.
Mr. Young,
Here.
Mr. Lefevre.
Here. First item of business tonight is closed session. We have a suggested motion that the board will enter closed session to discuss minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, matter pertaining to an individual student, and deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Lefevre.
Aye. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski, Mrs. Klimkowitz,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Lefevre.
Aye. Would everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Our first item of business tonight is recognitions. For that, I'll turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Small.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Eric Winkowski, the Director of Athletics and Activities, who's here with our school principals and our music directors to introduce us to some fine musicians tonight.
Board of Education and Dr. Small, thank you for taking some time tonight to recognize some all-state musicians and vocalists from the ILMEA competition this last year. This year, we have representatives from each one of our high schools. Also here tonight to support and honor their students are Palatine Principal Tony Medina, Frem Principal Kurt Teneper, Conant Principal Julie Novak, and Assistant Principal Mark Langer, Schaumburg Principal Brian Harlan, Hoffman Estates Principal Mike Alter, and Assistant Principal Tom Mokon. Students and guests, as your sponsor introduces you, I'm just going to ask that you please rise at your seat and be recognized by the board. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with Devin Gudzicki. Devin is in her 9th year teaching and her 4th year teaching at Conant High School. She attended the University of Illinois in Champaign and for her as an undergrad and under a master's degree in music education from Illinois State University. Devin also performs as a string bassist in various folk and rock groups. And Devin, I'm going to point her out for this. She did something really original 2 years ago when she brought her orchestra to a parade. So if you think about that, the cellos, the violinists, they performed in a parade. I thought that was really something that we should bring out to. So Devin.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues here, I would like to thank you, Dr. Small, and the board for recognizing our students this evening. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what IMEA is first before I introduce my own students. Illinois Music Education Association exists to advocate for the universal access to comprehensive music education, to deliver exemplary professional development for educators, and provide outstanding musical experiences for all Illinois learners facilitated by licensed music educators. The sectional competition includes Northwest suburbs and surrounding areas and is highly competitive. To be placed into ILMEA District 7 is an honor. Furthermore, to make it all the way to the all-state level proves the determination and talent of these fine musicians here today. I'd like to begin by introducing my student, Christian Kim. Christian is a senior at Conant. He is a student of teacher Almeda Vamos. He started studying violin at age 6. Christian has won numerous vigorous competitions and has been featured on 98.7 WFMT. Christian has participated in master classes with legendary performers and music leaders. On top of his excellent achievements, you can find him working on medical research and volunteering. Congratulations. Our next student is Daichi Kurita. He is a sophomore at Conant High School. He has been playing the violin for 8 years and is in the Conant Symphony Orchestra. He would have been concertmaster at the sectional IMEA level, and as a sophomore, for him to receive this accomplishment is outstanding. Outside of playing violin, Daichi also likes swimming and fishing. Congratulations, Daichi. And our last Conant Orchestra student is Sean Yoshihara. Sean is a junior at Conant High School. He has been playing the cello for 7 years, and this is his 3rd year as a member of the Conant Symphony Orchestra. Sean has participated in the ILMEA Festival for 3 consecutive years and has qualified and participated in nationals for orchestra. Sean is also the principal cellist and core member of the Midwest Philharmonic Orchestra. He studies under Brian Hoffman at the Midwest Conservatory of Music in Schaumburg. Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you, Devin. Next, we'll move on to Craig Morehouse. Craig Morehouse began his career in District 211 as a band assistant at Palatine High School in 2004. Since 2008, he has been the director of bands at James B. Conant High School. Craig?
Dr. Small, Board of Education, family members and friends and administrators. Good evening. It's my privilege to introduce 2 exceptional band students from Conant High School. Nate Matthew. Where are you at, Nate? Thank you. Nate Matthew is accompanied tonight by his parents, or with his parents, Mimi George and Jay Thomas. Nate was selected to participate in the ILMEA All-State Orchestra playing percussion. This accomplishment recognizes him as one of the most talented high school percussionists in the state of Illinois. Nate, who is currently a junior, has and continues to work diligently, developing the necessary skills to achieve at this impressive level. He is a leader among his peers, setting a consistent and positive example both as a model student and successful musician. With great pride, it is my honor to present Conant High School's Nate Matthew. Michael Duresh is accompanied tonight with his parents, Beata Duresh and Janusz Duresh. Michael was selected to participate in the ILMEA All-State Band playing the bassoon. This accomplishment recognizes him as one of the top high school bassoonists in the state of Illinois. Michael, who is currently a senior, has continued to work diligently, developing his skill to succeed in an impressive level with this unique and challenging instrument. What is even more impressive with this is that Michael only has been playing bassoon for the last 2 years. Michael's primary instrument is the tenor sax, but 2 years ago he switched to play bassoon, and since then has continued both, working on both instruments privately with private instructions for the last 2 years. In addition to making his District 7 ILMEA Senior Festival this year, he also on tenor saxophone made the District 7 ILMEA Senior Jazz Festival the past 2 years. He is a leader among his peers, setting a consistent and positive example of a highly disciplined and talented musician. With great pride, it is my honor to present Conant High School's Michael Duresh.
All right, now we'll move on to Fremd High School. Christina Collins started teaching at William Fremd High School in 2014. She attended the University of Illinois and graduated with a bachelor's degree in music education and has a master's degree from DePaul. While at Illinois, she performed in various vocal groups, including a all-female a cappella group known as the Rip Chords. Christina?
Thank you, Dr. Small and school board members, for the opportunity to present the Fremd Choir students tonight. I'm very pleased to introduce the 5 Fremd students selected for All-State Choir this year. They are keeping music alive and at a high level to become the top singers on their voice part. Andre Boulay is here with his father, Stephen. Andre is a junior singing bass 1. He is glad that we have been able to continue to make music with each other this year and says it is a very hopeful sight and sound. At the virtual All-State Festival, he learned about how your voice keeps developing in college and adulthood. Congrats, Andre. Sophia Katzma is here with her father, Ken. Sophia is a sophomore singing soprano 1. Getting to sing safely in person or on Zoom has been the highlight of this school year for her. During the All-State Festival, she enjoyed learning about how musical theater has changed and developed throughout the years. Congrats, Sophia. Anish Mukherjee is here with his parents, Aditi and Kajal. Anish is a sophomore singing bass 1. This year, he has been able to dedicate more time to practice and make improvements in his singing in order to achieve his goals. I think it's very admirable that Anish is continuing to work diligently amidst all of these new circumstances. Congrats, Anish. Grayson Walder is here with her parents, Jennifer and David. Grayson is a junior singing soprano 2. She says the feeling of connection is her favorite thing about choir. This year, she appreciates it more every time she gets the chance to sing with the choir. And I definitely echo those thoughts because it has been great to see so many of these students in person. Congratulations, Grayson. Sam Gold was unfortunately not able to attend tonight. He is a senior singing tenor 2. He has been involved in choir for 4 years and is also currently an intern for Viking Chorale. He plans to study musical theater in college. Congrats, Sam.
All right, next we have Matt Moore. Matt Moore is in his 20th year as the director of bands at Fremd High School. Matt has earned 3 music degrees from Northern Illinois University. Matt's bands have won numerous state honors, but what Matt is really most proud of are the large number of Fremd band alumni who have become strong advocates and supporters of music programs in their communities. Matt?
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Small, Mr. Winkowski, School Board and District 211 Administration for the opportunity to recognize our All-State musicians. I will be presenting our band student All-State musicians, but I'm also filling in for our orchestra director, Marla Caballero, who had a family commitment tonight. So I'll start with the orchestra students. Our first orchestra student is Lisa Kazami, who is joined by parents Riatora and Shinami Kazami. Lisa moved from Texas this year, and it's been a pleasure to welcome her into the Fremd Orchestra community. Lisa came to us with a high level of maturity in her technical skills and musical expression and continues to progress in these same areas, all while moving to a new school during these challenging times. Marla asked Lisa what she enjoys most about making music, and she shared, "I enjoy being able to perform with people and sharing my love for music. I enjoy connecting with new people and even with different backgrounds and personalities. I find joy in the fact that we can all come together and bond using the universal language of music." Congratulations to Lisa. Our second orchestra musician is Yana Kim, who's a senior violinist, and she's joined us on Zoom tonight. She's joined with her parents, Justin and Yeji Kim. Since her freshman year, Yana has played with a high level of musicality, sharing that into rehearsals, and this year was certainly no different. Trying to rehearse on Zoom setting for an orchestra is extremely challenging, but Yana was always willing to demonstrate and lead the class while playing her part. Mrs. Caballero often chooses her to demonstrate because she's able to model such a beautiful sound and is always technically superb. When asked what she enjoys about making music, she said, "I really like playing in a full orchestra because I love hearing how all the parts come together and the great melody that is shared by numerous instruments." This year, even though it's been really strange to have my last year online, orchestra has still been a class where I can just play and be free from all of my classes, which is really nice. Congratulations to Yana. And our last orchestra musician is Prashant Ramachandra, who is a junior violinist. I know he's here tonight and is joined by his parents, Saraya and Vidya. Prashant has always been a very well-spoken and passionate about music over the last year and a half. I've seen that passion grow exponentially. In fact, it was Prashant's idea to create musical postcards to share with local retirement and nursing home communities. Creating these in the fall gave the orchestra students purpose and the opportunity to share music and hope with those in our community who were struggling during the quarantine. This was Prashant's third year auditioning for ILMEA and the first year being accepted, not just to the district orchestra, but also to the all-state orchestra, which shows an awful lot of determination and perseverance as well. What does he enjoy about making music? The ability to share it with others. Music speaks when words fail. So the ability to share the divine language with others, especially during such a challenging time emotionally, is a privilege that I enjoy having and will share with others for the rest of my life. Congratulations to Prashant and all of our orchestra students. Moving on to our band students. Our first band student is sophomore trumpet player Mark Ariano. Unfortunately, Mark is on the soccer team and suffered an injury. He's doing okay, he's doing better, but that's the reason why he can't join us tonight. As I said, Mark is a phenomenal trumpet player. He's our top trumpet player in the band program as a sophomore and one of the top trumpet players in the entire state, which says a lot for him and his age. He's performed in the Wind Symphony. He's also our lead jazz trumpet player as well, an incredible jazz improviser. Mark, very involved with soccer, and then he says, music has to go on during this tough times, and I greatly enjoy being a part of the group and the music that we can create together, no matter what the circumstances. Congratulations to Mark. Joining us in person tonight is senior Stella Chung, who plays flute and piccolo. She's joined by her mother, Haymeen Park. Stella's performed in the Wind Symphony and Symphony Orchestra and is one of our top, if not the top, flute player in the band program. Also very active with the Friend Math team, Scholastic Bowl, NHS Triumph Music Honor Society, and Taekwondo. Next year, she will attend either Stanford, Yale, or MIT, majoring in chemical engineering. What did she enjoy most about making music? Stella says, I like that it provides a way for me to take a break away from the stress of school and simply enjoy listening to lovely melodies. There are also so many different ways to be creative and making music that keep me engaged and have me constantly looking for new ways to express myself. Congratulations to Stella. Danny Kim is a senior clarinetist who unfortunately wasn't able to join us tonight. Danny will be attending UIUC next year, majoring in computer science and linguistics. Has been involved in many different clubs and organizations while at Frem High School. And Danny's got an interesting quote here, or an interesting thoughts, I should say, regarding what he loves about making music. He says, can vibrations in the air convey sadness, joy, or love? A decade of practicing late at night, playing duets with lifelong music friends, laughing and at times crying with my orchestra peers have taught me that the answer is a resounding yes. To me, the most wonderful aspect of music is that it is an infinite vessel of meaning and emotion for everybody. Congratulations, Danny Kim. Next is senior Alina Kwan, another flautist, joined by her father, Adam Kwan. Alina is a senior and plans to major in music and flute performance at either DePaul, Boston University, or Indiana University. She's been involved in our top Wind Symphony, Symphony Orchestra, and also drum major of the Viking Marching Band for the past 2 years. Alina enjoys, what she says about enjoying for music is it's a way for me to express my emotions when I can't, and also a space for me to relax and get away from the stressful things like the pandemic. Congratulations to Alina. Junior Brooklyn Mao is our next recognized band student. Brooklyn is joined tonight with her mother, Jamie Lee. Brooklyn is a wonderful flute player, but she was actually selected for all states as a pianist, as a concert piano player. Brooklyn has won or been recognized throughout the Midwest for many years for different piano competitions. She also performs in the Viking Marching Band and the Wind Ensemble. Something that she learned from ILMEA: to improve as a musician, one of the most important things is to have the humility to ask others for help, because there's always something you can learn from talking to others that you wouldn't be able to learn on your own. Congratulations, Brooklyn. And our last band musician is clarinetist Shruti Sharma, who is a junior, and she's joined tonight by her father, Abhishek Sharma. Shruti is an outstanding clarinist and has performed in numerous bands and ensembles throughout her time at Frem High School. She's also very involved in the Tri-M Music Honor Society, Audio Sunshine, which is a girls a cappella group. She has a wonderful singing voice, and also the Frem chapter of HOSA, which is the Health Occupation Students of America. Why does she enjoy the most about making music? I enjoy how collaborative it is. I can play my instrument in a fun, judgment-free environment with my friends. Congratulations to Shruti and all of our friend musicians.
All right, we'll move on to Hoffman Estates High School. Tom, why don't you start working your way down here? You're in the back of the room there. Tom Chester currently in his first year as the orchestra director here at Hoffman Estates High School. He conducts 3 curricular orchestras this year, directed the musical pit orchestra, and also assisted with band rehearsals. Tom?
Liz and Ron Searle raised a very good son. Can you stand up? Really, all 3 of you, because you did a great job. Logan Searle is a bass player in our orchestra. Sadly, he's a senior. I have no way to keep him here another year. But Logan is outstanding. And I keep thinking about this experience the 2 of us had. We're both bass players. We both play electric bass. And there's this piece that's super, what piece am I talking about? Portrait of Tracy by this bass player from the 70s, Jaco Pastorius. And we were messing around one day after school, and he's teaching me things about this piece that I played 20 years ago. He's curious about learning. He's curious about music. He's gifted in ways a lot of students are, and I'm just proud of him. So I wish he had a better experience because it was online, but thank you for honoring Logan tonight.
All right, next we have Jerry Lowry. Jerry Lowry is the band director and the music department chair here at Hoffman Estates High School. Jerry is finishing up his 4th year in those positions. Jerry?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to shine a spotlight on Iniko Otsuka. She is here with Akari and Hiro Otsuka. And there's not much to say about Nico other than a year ago when we were sitting in a practice room and she had found out the results about her district auditions at that time. She just looked me in the eyes and said, I guess I'll just have to make All-State next year. And so I had no doubt that she would, and obviously she did. She's a stellar clarinetist, pianist. She's on our Tri-M executive board, our band council leadership board, marching band section leader, excellent student. She has the tough job of helping me keep my schedule straight. So she's been doing some fantastic things. Please give it up for Iniko Otsuka.
Thank you, Jerry. And then now we'll introduce Matt Schlesinger. Matt is the choral director at Hoffman Estates High School. In addition, he also directs the vocal jazz program, the Madrigal Singers, and is also the vocal director for the Hoffman Estates musical. He has a bachelor's degree in music education from Western Illinois University and a master's degree from Vandercook College of Music. And Matthew also continues to perform around the Chicago area with the Chicago Symphony Chorus, the Bella Voice, and the Grant Park Symphony Chorus. Matt?
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Mia Dudlasek. Mia is a junior at Hoffman Estates High School, and she repeatedly shows herself to be a leader within the music department. She was selected to serve as vice president on the choir leadership team and is the choir rep for our Tri-M organization. She's also an influential member of both concert choir and our madrigal troupe. Mia always brings an incredibly positive energy that she uses to both motivate and to encourage all of the students around her. And I have no doubt that in about 5 or 6 years, I'm going to have the pleasure of calling her a colleague when she becomes a music teacher as well. So congratulations, Mia.
All right, next we move on to Palatine. Yum Pham. Since joining District 211 in 2004, Yum has taught at Hoffman Estates, Schaumburg, and Palatine High School. Yum is currently the director of orchestras and the music department chair at Palatine High School. She directs 3 curricular orchestras, runs an extracurricular chamber strings and a mariachi club, advises the Tri-M chapter, and oh, by the way, she also serves as the District 211 district music chair. Yum?
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Hayden Williams, a junior from Palatine High School. He's directly behind me. He's joined tonight by his parents, David and Barbara Williams. A multi-talented musician, Hayden has previously been honored as a member of the All-State Honors Orchestra and for his second place composition for solo piano last year. This year, we celebrate Hayden's first place category for solo instrument, his composition for cello and piano, Sonata in G. Thank you, Hayden, for sharing your musicianship and inspiration every day in class. He serves on the Tri-Am board and as well as doing tennis and other activities. He just lights up the room, and his dedication and his persistence is a model for all of our students. We are so proud of your achievement. Congratulations, Hayden.
All right, now move on to Schaumburg High School. Ann Epsel is taught at Schaumburg High School since 2014, where she teaches 3 curricular choirs and AP Music Theater. She also directs the Choraleers, an extracurricular ensemble, and is the musical director of the school musical. Ann?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity. I'd like to introduce Junior Leah Steen and her parents, Aaron and Shannon Steen. Leah was selected to be a member of the ILMEA All-State Choir. She is also on the swim team and captain of the varsity water polo team. She's a member of NHS and Tri-Am, and she hopes to pursue a career in music therapy. So she brings a light and a joy to class every single day. I wish you could have all seen her face when we were first back in person and there were people in the choir room singing together, and everybody's face just lit up, but especially Leah's, because it was such a joy to sing together. So congratulations, Leah. It's an honor to be your teacher.
All right, and our final presenter is Vinny Inandino. Mr. Inandino has been the band director at Schaumburg High School since 2011 and the music department chair since 2014. At Schaumburg, he co-teaches each of the curricular concert bands, is an assistant director of the variety show, and an assistant director of the musical. And as I always point out, Vinny is the most confused person during football season because he holds 3 degrees in music, one from Northwestern University, one from University of Illinois, and one from the University of Michigan. So he's got some allegiances there that are very confusing for him. Vinny.
Good evening, everyone. Along with her parents, Sunny and Peter, it's my pleasure to first introduce Nicole Stiawan. As a junior in the Schaumburg Orchestra, Nicole is an outstanding leader and violinist, as evidenced by her placement in this year's All-State Orchestra. Mrs. Carlson, our school's orchestra director, notes that she's demonstrated remarkable resilience and leadership in the classroom, especially this year. She's been studying violin for 12 years and plays in the Midwest Philharmonic Orchestra. In 2019, she was appointed co-concertmaster of the Orkestrita Youth Orchestra in Indonesia the summer after her freshman year. She's been a District 7 orchestra member and a 2-year member of the District 211 Honors Orchestra. In addition to music, she's been on the badminton team, Girl Up, Health Professionals of America, and the math team. She also regularly volunteers at church and currently volunteers for Masks Now Illinois by sewing cloth masks to be distributed in healthcare facilities and social services. Congratulations, Nicole. Next up, along with his parents, Leanne and Rick, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Reese Barlow. Reese is a junior and now a 2-time ILMEA All-State musician. Last year, he was in the All-State Honors Band. This year, Reese was the top horn player in District 7 for the orchestra and was selected to play horn in the All-State Orchestra. He is principal horn at Schaumburg High School. He's been a member of the District 211 Honors Orchestra, Honor Band, Schaumburg Youth Symphony, and Midwest Philharmonic. Outside of music, he's involved in multiple AP courses, National Honor Society, and he's really into autos. He's a remarkably well-rounded and creative student with a great sense of humor. Congratulations, Reese Barlow. And along with his parents, Leanne and Rick, it's my honor to introduce Mr. Rix Barlow. Rix is a junior and an outstanding trombone player at Schaumburg, equally at home both in classical and jazz settings.
After being selected for District 7 band as a sophomore, this year, Ricks earned a position in Jazz Ensemble 3 and was the top trombone player in District 7 band this year. He also earned a position in the All-State band. Ricks has been highly involved at Schaumburg High School with the Wind Symphony and Jazz Ensemble. He's a section leader for the Saxon Marching Band. He's been a member of Honors Orchestra, Honor Band, Schaumburg Youth Symphony, and Midwest Philharmonic. He also plays in the Pit Orchestra for the musical and is playing in a combo outside of school. He's a great leader. He works diligently, helps his peers, and lets his playing speak for himself, for itself. So congratulations, Ricks Barlow. And finally, with his parents, Fernando and Maria, I'm thrilled to introduce SHS Junior, Mr. Alan Medina. Alan's an incredibly creative saxophonist and dedicated musician. He has interests in pretty much every academic discipline. On the date that the audition videos were due, I sent Alan an email about 2 hours beforehand because I didn't have his video. He sent me an email about an hour later and said it was worth the wait. He was right. He was selected as the ILMEA District 7 alto saxophonist in the jazz combo, which basically places him as the top jazz alto player in the area, earned him a position in the All-State Jazz Ensemble. Alan's a member of the Wind Symphony and Jazz Ensemble. He's also a drum major for the Saxon Marching Band. Along with Ricks and another student, Alan actually organized a summer jazz improv camp over Zoom for students at Schaumburg. He's continued to be a great mentor to other students in the program. He runs his own jazz combo, and he also plays in the Midwest Young Artists Conservatory's top jazz band. Congratulations, Alan Medina. Thank you all for coming tonight. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to recognize all of our students for their outstanding accomplishments. We're at the point in our meeting where we're going to switch gears to the business portion of the agenda. And so we understand if you have other opportunities for tonight, now's a good time to take advantage of those. Thank you for coming. We do have others coming in from elsewhere. We're okay. All right. Okay, according to Phase 4 guidelines issued by the state of Illinois, no more than 25% of the seating capacity may be gathered together in a specific location at one time. The Board of Education meeting is being held this evening in the auditorium at Hoffman Estates High School with a maximum of 25% of the seating capacity. The board meeting also will be simulcast in classrooms near the auditorium to accommodate any additional guests beyond the auditorium capacity. The Board of Education meeting is also being conducted via an electronic video conferencing application known as Zoom. Tonight, public comments will be in person and via Zoom. Individuals who wanted to address the board via in-person or Zoom were asked to sign up today between the hours of 4:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Individuals were asked to indicate if they wanted to address the Board of Education in person or via Zoom. If more than 20 people completed the link to address the board, a random system was used to select and order 30 names. Since public comment is to be heard for a maximum of 1 hour, not all 30 people may have a chance to address the board. A list of individuals who will address the board and the order of the individuals addressing the board was posted on the Zoom meeting screen at 7:15 p.m. Each person who addresses the board will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. You will be told when you have 1 minute remaining, though you may not hear that if you are speaking via Zoom. Public comment will be heard for a maximum of 1 hour. I will call each person's name when it is their time to address the board. If you are in person, please come to the podium and state your name for the record. Though not required, you may state if you are a resident of the district. If you are addressing the board via Zoom, your microphone will be turned on after I call your name. Again, please state your name for the record, and if you wish, indicate if you are a resident of the district. When you are finished, your microphone will be turned off. Speakers should keep their masks on when addressing the board at the podium. Any individual's unused time or place in order may not be deferred to another individual. All right, first public comments and hearings. We have the public comment portion. Our first person is Jasmine Mundi.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Small. My name is Jasmine Mundi, and I'm a senior at Conant. I've also been a resident of this district my entire life. I am speaking out today to reiterate a need for urgent, persistent, and effective action in regards to sexual violence and rape culture in our schools. I'm also speaking today on behalf of every student over the last 2 board meetings who has come here via public comment to speak. I refuse to make my thoughts more palatable to spare you from the distress your poor handling of sexual misconduct has caused on the student body. With the resignation of a Conant teacher for having inappropriate relations with students in 2018, early retirement of Palatine High School's former principal in response to allegations of inappropriate language in 2019, uncovering of nude sharing group chats that members of the Conant football team engaged with, and rampant sexual assault of theater members by another student, all during my time in D211, I cannot say I'm proud to be a student of this district. And those are only the instances I personally know about. Up until this point, I would actually have said my experiences with this administration were positive. I have never had a disciplinary intervention, and I only ever stopped by Conant Student Services for changes to my class schedule. But the interactions I've had within the last month showed me the appalling denial of complicity present here. If that is seriously the response a student in distress would receive, I now see where apprehension and mistrust in the administrators come from. The covert animosity, lack of honesty, and transparently upholding procedural law, and refusal to accommodate students with off-campus sexual violence trauma encourages inaction as part of the district status quo. Much of what I just mentioned is actually in violation of Title IX law. I am personally extending an invitation to you all in regards to attending a student proposed panel event this April 30th to see what students should be learning about sexual assault and harassment prevention the instant they enter your district. A sexual misconduct policy written in plain and comprehensible phrasing and an annual report of sexual violence statistics available for the public are reasonable demands on behalf of the community. The student voice is an aggregate for what policies are established and are actually enforced in your schools. And discrediting us to undermine the conviction and integrity it has taken for myself and my peers to speak out is disdainful to the values in which you're obliged to uphold as members of this board. The harassment the students have faced will not intimidate us. The threats we have received will not silence us. And the intentional antagonization of these students for speaking out has only emphasized the power our voices have in demanding accountability and change. Thank you, and I relinquish the remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you. Next, Stacy Gale.
Hello, my name's Stacy Gale. I'm a resident of D211. Last week, Dr. Small sent an email and copied the board stating I had submitted 10 FOIAs this year with 3 related to SAT prep. As is pretty typical with D211 administrators, the information she provided was inaccurate. I've submitted a single FOIA regarding SAT prep after Josh Schumacher committed to providing the information and then ignored me repeatedly. As is also typical, the FOIA regarding SAT prep was incomplete. My favorite note is Superintendent Small's referral to my March 5th FOIA. I did not submit a FOIA on March 5th. Dr. Small forwarded one of my emails to Lauren Hummel and called it my FOIA. I don't think this is ethical or legal. Unfortunately, it's par for the course. I responded requesting documentation about how the district manages the extracurriculars since teachers are receiving stipends of over $9,000 for less than 10 hours of work. Her response to me, wait for it, I'm sure you got it. Submit a FOIA. No problem. It's ridiculous that a community member has to submit a FOIA for any piece of information. It's absurd the board would allow the superintendent to obstruct the free flow of information and repeatedly provide misinformation. It is time the board who receives copies of all the FOIAs begin asking, why are we receiving all of these FOIAs? Ms. Cavill, instead of asking if there are enough resources to respond, perhaps it's time to ask the superintendent why she isn't communicating with the community members. Let me provide a quick rundown of the highlights of information provided via FOIA. Students at FREM receive 1,900% more SAT prep than Palatine. Palatine pays one teacher a stipend of $9,102 and 2 teachers each earn $5,642. Their average SAT scores are around the 40th percentile. FREM had one teacher earning $7,672 and another earning $9,375. Their average SAT scores are around the 70th percentile. The administration has no minimum requirements or evaluations of the programs. Is this the administration being good stewards of taxpayer money? Is the administration even managing the contract? Is this equitable to teachers or students? There are head coaches who work significantly more hours and spend significantly more hours away from their families for competitions who are earning smaller stipends than these teachers. We learned teachers who requested an ADA accommodation work remotely from home were allowed to teach from home while being allowed to coach or sponsor a club in person. Not a single ADA accommodation letter said teacher to teach remotely and coach in person. Yet the administration prioritized extracurriculars over academics. Oh, and those same teachers earned additional stipend pay for those extracurricular work. We learned incompletes increased over 1,900% compared to last year. Palatine High School had 44%. As of March 31st, Palatine High School makes up 75% of the incompletes, which resolved to Fs, 24% to audits, and 40% outstanding. I emailed Mr. Schumacher on Monday asking for a copy of the data. I haven't received a response. I guess he's ignoring me again, and I will have to once again submit a FOIA for information he has already referenced. I could go on, but I think you get the point. It's the superintendent's responsibility to keep the board informed about the district performance. Why isn't the administration keeping the board informed? Why does Dr. Small paint with a wide brush of district-wide statistics instead of site-by-site information? I think it's because she doesn't want the board or the public to know how bad things really are. The next meeting will have more information from FOIAs, and I expect there will be some
one more minute.
major bombshells. Sadly, again, the board will sit and look like fools for trusting the administration to provide meaningful information. I leave you with this. If the district were to pivot to a full 8-period day for the final 7 weeks of school, students could receive an additional 93 hours of instructional time. That's 36% more than summer school. Speaking of summer school, how many of you board members think students who fail classes requiring a 1-hour Zoom every other day will do well in a 5-hour, 15-minute Zoom for 4 days a week for 3 weeks? What about students who fail multiple classes? How are they to make up the learning loss? Summer school is not the answer. Many students will not have the opportunity to make up the multiple classes they failed. How many won't bother coming back next year?
Thank you. Jessica Hinkle.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Hinkle, parent of current and future D211 students, as well as a Board of Education candidate on this past election ballot. Over the past weekend, there were some despicable last-ditch efforts to sway voters. Mr. Young, you reposted a year-old screenshot of a tweet from an account that was deleted almost over a year ago of a conversation I had with my son. This conversation made absolutely no reference to race, but you interjected your own assumptions of racism into it. Then you went on to attack me on my parenting ability and then called me a racist. But worst of all, you called my 12-year-old son, you accused my 12-year-old son of being a racist, all because you made an assumption. My son's best friend is half Filipino. Luckily, his parents saw this for what it was, a sick attempt for smearing my name in efforts to sway voters. And luckily, their friendship remains strong. But who's to say this of any other parents, of friends, or classmates of my sons will do the same? Your false accusations could cause division between kids who haven't seen color or in the past. Actions such as yours are what cause racial divide. Mr. Young, you took an oath. You are expected to follow the Board of Code of Conduct. You are a grown adult, a board member, a Board of Education member, and you cyber attacked a 12-year-old kid. You bullied a kid, a defenseless kid. I've received many messages about this, but sadly, people are embarrassed of our board because of your actions. There should be repercussions for your actions, but just as importantly, you owe my son an apology. I know this is Mr. Young's last meeting, but I bring this up because this is just the latest in board members breaking a code of conduct. The board and Dr. Small have been made aware of past issues and no actions have been taken. What is the purpose of a code of conduct if board members don't follow them and there are no repercussions for breaking them? I would like to see a change or a new policy that is put in place that holds future board members accountable for their actions, so kids like my son aren't attacked again.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the auditorium tonight who's not on the list that would like an opportunity to address the board? If so, if you could just raise your hand. Sure, please, come on up.
My name is Vicki Wilson. I'm a resident of D211, and I just need to comment really quick on Ms. Hinkle's comments. You absolutely owe that child an apology. What you did was unconscionable. I'm here because in the last two board meetings, students have provided and just earlier have provided public comments stating they have been raising the issue of sexual harassment and assault to the administration for over a year, and their concerns were unanswered. Why are the concerns of female students still being ignored in this district? It's been going on way, way too long. Following the March presentation, a board member asked, does the administration believe there is a systemic sexual harassment or violence in D211? Dr. Small didn't answer the question. Instead, she went on about the lack of communication. Another board member apologized to the student for not knowing what is happening in our schools. Apparently, Dr. Small isn't adhering to item G of board policy CBA. Every board member felt as though this is a significant matter, yet they had to hear it during public comment from students instead of from the superintendent. Why would the administration under Dr. Small's leadership put the board members in a position of having to apologize for not knowing what is happening in the schools? According to Mr. Schumacher, the district policies were updated in November. Was there any discussion or information provided to the board to reflect what students claim is a significant problem? Based on multiple public comments at board meetings, it seems as though it is standard operating procedure for Dr. Small to ignore parents, require them to submit FOIA, I know that firsthand from many years, ignore students and require them to stand up in a public forum and relive painful and traumatic experiences, answer board member questions with vague or misleading answers. Why does Dr. Small and the administration ignore community members' concerns? Why does the board allow her to ignore concerns? Isn't it the superintendent's job to address community concerns? Isn't it the job to be transparent and build trust with the community? Isn't it the job of the superintendent to protect and try to improve the district? Instead, we get concerns ignored and weak answers given, leaving the board members uninformed and apologizing to the community for the lack of knowledge. It's past time the board hold Dr. Small accountable for not adhering to item G of board policy CBA. You need to stop accepting vague responses to specific questions and stop accepting district-wide statistics considering the significant variance in school operations and performance. It is time the board review the policy to ensure simple things like responding to community concerns in a timely manner. Keep the community informed of significant issues regarding the district, not just the board. The board should not be surprised each month with new information provided by parents who were required to obtain information via FOIA. And why are parents providing more meaningful information to the board than the superintendent? And one final thought regarding the election, the candidates who received financial funding from the teachers union should absolutely be recusing themselves from any future votes regarding union contracts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda tonight is the public hearing on the proposed reduction in force of teaching positions. First suggested motion is that the public hearing on the proposal to conduct a reduction in force of teaching positions in Township High School District 211 is now open. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. Okay, now that the hearing is open, our first person that has signed up to address the board is Jasmine Mundi. Okay, thank you. The next person that signed up is Alakaya Totokura.
They're not on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. The next person that signed up, Vicki Wilson. Okay, that's okay, thank you. All right, if there is no one to address the board for the public hearing, then we have a suggested motion that the public hearing on the proposal to conduct a reduction in force of teaching positions in Township High School District 211 is now closed. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. All right, next item of business tonight is our consent agenda. We have a suggested motion that the consent agenda be approved as presented. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. Next, we have special reports. First is the Freedom of Information Act requests. Any questions or comments here? All right, that will bring us to our 2020-2021 school year update. Dr. Small.
Thank you. In addition to the information that is posted on the board docs, our attendance has been steadily increasing, slowly but surely. Prior to spring break, we reached out to all families that had selected remote learning and invited them to change their selection to in-person should they so choose. We had approximately 300 families do so. Our current percentage is that 56% of our families have selected in-person learning and 44% have remained at remote learning. As I said, not all are attending who have selected in person, but we are slowly starting to see the increase occur. You'll see information in the documentation incurred in terms of our semester 1 incompletes. Our work to that end has been individualized with our students. We've had some success with our students in terms of earning credit. Students who have not been able to earn credit if their class is a graduation requirement will become a part of our second semester work. Most of them have continued on what they have already started, as well as the possibility of becoming part of our summer school work in terms of working with the incompletes.
Any questions or comments?
Dr. Small, how are second semester performances? Are they tracking similar to first semester? Are we seeing an increase in the second semester or decrease? Have the first semester efforts impact the second semester efforts?
What I can tell you, based on what we have here, are students who have not completed their first semester incompletes tend to be the ones that continue to need work for second semester. Otherwise, the numbers that you've asked me for, I don't have in front of me.
Okay, are we keeping track of the?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
When could we get an update on that?
I can put that out in the next board letter.
Thank you.
I do have a question also in regards to the students. Is it possible to break it down by the grade level?
Yes.
Of the kids? And I know we've got a number of kids that they've received an F for some of the classes, if I'm reading that correctly. What is are these percentages typical of a normal school year? Because we always will have some kids that fail, or is this after remediation?
The numbers that are in the board report are specific to those who started with incompletes.
Okay.
So in order to give you the complete picture, we would have to go by each grade and then designate it by grade level, which we can do.
Okay. And is there a reason, or is there something that we can take a look at as to why the young person didn't finish or ended up with the F? Maybe we can take a look at what was going on with the student as to why they weren't able to, to pass.
Mr. Schumacher, can you describe what's happening within the schools right now?
Sure. Each one of these students was approached individually, and so they all have a story behind the reason that they're disengaged or unable to finish their work. And so certainly we've looked at, are there themes and are there pieces that we can address differently? And really what it comes down to is all of our students are going through trauma related to COVID and the school closure and all of the things going on in their lives, and they're all coping with it differently. And so it's tough to take each individual situation and see a theme other than they're disengaging from the school environment, and our adults and school staff are continually reaching out and attempting to re-engage them. And for whatever reason, the students either haven't re-engaged or haven't been able to re-engage.
Thank you. And I would assume that we're continuing, and we will continue into the summer with all of those students also to
Absolutely.
see what we
And
can offer them and how we can be supportive.
much like this, having incompletes in this manner is a unique program, right, that we've created to allow these students who are going through trauma and who are struggling to have extra support, to have extra time, to have extra adults. We're continuing to do that, but also continuing to attempt to build more supports.
Is it possible that maybe they need some, maybe help in the evening as opposed to during the day?
Certainly, that's a potential.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate your request to have it broken out by grade level, because there's a lot of catch up that needs to be done here. And do you know offhand of the resolved to an F, like PHS is 30%? Is it seniors? Is it freshmen? Is it juniors?
Do we know that? Yes. Can I
Did
quote
you-
that right now? No,
Okay, ballpark, can you ballpark it?
no.
Okay.
The numbers that you received last week certainly do detail the actual numbers, but not by grade. So we will break it out by grade.
Yeah, because there is catch up. What is the plan to, let's say you have a senior now, okay, we're getting towards the end of the school year, that has Fs, just because you have an F doesn't mean that you're not going to graduate. Is that correct?
That's correct, because the graduation requirements are in the total transcript, not necessarily within.
Do we have a feel for the number of students because of specifically seniors that won't be able to graduate?
So we're coming up on what we call our 12-week academic checkpoint for this semester. And that is.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schumacher, I can't really hear you. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem. So we are coming up on our 12-week academic checkpoint, and that is the time where we're going to be able to have a better sense of where the students are at, because we are at the point where there is 6 weeks left in the semester. And so our teachers are going through those students. They're working with the counselors and the administrators, and we will likely be able to provide you that information, as Dr. Small said, in the next board letter, because of that checkpoint that we have in place.
Is that a normal checkpoint or is that a COVID checkpoint?
It's a checkpoint that we have had every year that we've gone to our system.
Yeah, this is an extraordinary, it would be helpful to know how many students are not going to graduate and what the plan is for them. Thank you.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about, do we not allow the student to march and participate in graduation, and then they can take the class during summer, granted if it's kind of one class?
We do, yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, just
I mean,
so we provide.
that's an each. I'd like to know what the plan is.
Yes.
And how many students are going to be involved.
I have a quick question, and I'm not sure, maybe this has been provided before. Could you give us a breakdown of these numbers compared to last year, compared to the year before? Keeping in mind, last year was also a COVID year. So if you can give us, this academic year, last academic year, and the academic year prior with similar data for side-by-side comparison, so we can see whatever trend or situation that we're facing right now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a lot of numbers crunching. Will you be able to do that? I mean, you have to go back and look at historical records and for 12,000 students.
It is a lot of numbers because we give out over 75,000 grades per semester, but we certainly do have those numbers.
So
I will-
you'll be
I will
able
give
to-
them back out to you.
You'll be able to do it
Yes.
somewhat painlessly, okay?
And just to follow up, based on Mr. Schumacher's comments about noticing that everybody has an individual story and some of the complications are that the students are disengaged. And then back to Ms. Gale's point at the podium regarding remote summer school, will there be in-person options that would
Yes.
make it different? I did get the catalog and I did notice that most of our, if not all of our English and math classes were entirely remote.
Yes.
Um,
Mr. Schumacher, can you summarize what we presented last board meeting?
Sure. In the last board meeting, there was a report that detailed the specific classes that were originally intended to be in person. And those in the catalog you referenced are in person. Those are our freshman and sophomore academies, our invitationals, our ESL, and our special education courses, as well as the Project Excel. And what we said last time was we have lowered the class size on those numbers for the vulnerable students to help mitigate the learning loss, specifically with those groups of students. On the other courses in the catalog that are mentioned remote, there's a little asterisk that says, if capacity levels and mitigations allow, those will be in person as well. And so we're hoping to move many, if not all of those in person, but we don't know yet. And so we're unable to make that determination until we get closer to the first day of summer school.
So if I'm a student that is incomplete and failing, I won't know if the situation's going to change to engage me until the first day of summer school? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
No.
Okay.
Not
Please
necessarily.
clarify that for me, because if I'm a student in this situation, I'm trying to empathize with what their options are to maybe change the situation that led them to an incomplete or an F. And I obviously that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around.
In a typical summer school, in a typical year, a student who failed semester 1 or semester 2 would drop into our normal summer school and have to make it up. What we have going on this summer school, which is in addition to last summer school, is that option is there. Did not pull those courses away for them to make it up in a traditional course setting. But we also have the unique academic opportunities that are coming after that would be invitational, especially for those students that we would put on. And we referenced those last board meeting as they were coming out in April and May. And Mr. Schumacher, can you kind of give a summary of those?
The advancement opportunities?
Yes, please.
Sure. So to your points of what you're asking, we are planning separate summer programs to help the different groups of students that you have talked about. So at this time, it's tentatively titled the Summer Advancement Opportunity, and it has 4 categories of opportunities for students. One of those opportunities is the incomplete remediation for any semester 2 incompletes. And if you remember from last summer, that was the first year we ever had to do an incomplete remediation because of COVID, and it was a highly successful program over the summer. So we're hoping that it will be again. So that's the first component. The second component we're calling a week workshop, which is an opportunity for students to sign up and participate in a week-long workshop that's directly related to a narrow academic topic. For example, students that are going to move into an AP Science course next school year will have the opportunity to take an in-depth AP Science lab skill week workshop to mitigate any lab skills that they may not have gotten this year. And so that's a second component. The third component is an enrichment program that's going to be at night. As Ms. Klinkowitz said, it's going to be held through Zoom, and it's going to be 2 hours a week. So one night a week for 2 hours for the period of 6 weeks. And certainly there will likely be a component of SAT and NMSQT prep that our students could take a course over the summer in that for the first time, but there will also be other topics offered. And then the last, we're calling it On Track to Graduation. So Mr. Kramer, to your point, we're looking at those seniors or potentially other students that may not be what we call on track to graduation or meeting the checkpoints of credits that we look for each school year. And we're going to individually look at those students and create a plan for them to get back on track to graduation.
So it's going to be an individualized plan per student.
Correct.
Which of the schools that are going to be the summer schools? Are we going to close 1 or 2 of them?
All of our schools have classes.
They
Conant
do.
will have a smaller number of in-person classes.
And, okay, so we're not closing a school for
No.
the summer this year?
No.
And the administration had to choose because of capacity limits, or was it because of teacher shortages, scheduling classes?
We haven't gone through the process of in the traditional classes, which ones will go from remote to in-person yet. That will depend on not only our spacing, but also what we're allowed to do. So if we have room, we'll bring them all in.
So you are able to, you had to make a decision early on that some of them may be remote, but you're working to get them in person as much
Yes.
as possible.
Mhm. And it is traditional that in the beginning of April, all of our summer school information comes out and registration begins. And we started that process, but just like everything else this year, we can't make definitive answers until we get closer to it.
You understand? You had
So
to
we
do
will,
something. yeah.
we had to give them something, and then we will continue to add more information and options along the way. And in summer school, students make choices and their parents, and then they change their mind, and we certainly do allow that also.
Thank you.
I have one more question, if I may. Have we been talking with District 15 and 54 on what are they doing to help get their students caught up so they will be a little bit more prepared for entering the high school?
So we do have certainly incoming freshman opportunities for our summer school, and we do communicate with 15 and 54 in regard to that. We also in the past have offered some opportunities for what would be considered incoming 8th graders to come into our school, and we will continue to offer those opportunities also.
Thank you.
Offhand, isn't 15 and 54 all person all the time now? All in person all the time now with a normal schedule? Do you know if they're doing remote?
They are still doing remote as well. They're offering remote to those students who are in need of that. Otherwise, they're all in person.
With a normal unadjusted school year. I mean, a bell schedule.
I don't know the details of their bell
Okay,
schedule.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, my kids attend District 15. Not all students are in person, no.
My child in 54 is on a full schedule, full bell schedule.
Whoever's talking, I can't hear them.
My child in 54 is on a full bell schedule.
Okay. I just have my questions were going along summer school as well. And forgive me if you've said this before and I missed it in the audio. What I understand that because of the situation, it's hard to get definitive details, et cetera, but when are we anticipating having firm details of the summer school registration process? Like for the students the hypothetical students that Mr. Dombrowski was referencing, someone that knows that they're going to need remediation for the summer, et cetera. When are we expecting to have all these details finalized?
So the opportunities for the credit-bearing courses in the traditional schedule are already out there. Students have the ability to sign up for them, and then we'll notify them probably within the first half of May as to what those options are. In summer school, like I said, they have the ability to change their mind and switch in and out of courses at any point. The academic opportunities that are outside of the traditional schedule that Mr. Schumacher just got done describing in those 4 different arenas, those will be sent out separately. Those are different. They're not the traditional credit-bearing courses, so we wanted to get those in first. These other opportunities run parallel, and students can do both. Those will be coming out within this month to the beginning of May. And then all of our students that are incomplete or failing, that is what our Student Services Department does a tremendous job of. Those are communications that are followed and tracked and plans for those students in terms of whether it's a course that needs repeating, whether they are going to change their schedule for next year, whether they're going to be involved in summer school. So all of those components are in place as part of our student services, work with their students and track their kids, and our teachers are communicating with them. So that's the individualized attention that those students get and always have been getting, but there's certainly more opportunities for them.
Okay, and then my other question is about staffing. How have, in order to offer the summer school the way we're talking about it, needs to be properly staffed. Do you anticipate that being an issue at all?
That's one of the reasons why we begin at least this process early enough in April, so we can start looking at our staffing of our coursework, and then the opportunities that we offer for the 4 academic components, opportunities that Mr. Schumacher defined. Those actually go hand in hand with the staffing along the way. So could we run into a staffing problem? Certainly we could. At this point, it's too early to see if that's going to be an issue or not. In our past summer school opportunities, even when we ran the incompletes last year, we were certainly able to fulfill the needs of all of our students with our staffing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item is the starting times for 2021, 2022. Does anyone have any questions here? Or Dr. Small, did you have any comments?
No, according to board policy, this is brought forth each year. These are our standard starting times and ending times.
All right, thank you. That will bring us to new business. First item under new business, we have the resolution authorizing the reduction in force and release of non-tenured teachers. We have a suggested motion that the Board of Education adopts the attached resolution authorizing the reduction in force of all part-time, non-tenured teachers. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. LaFever,
Aye. Next, we have the release of first-year teacher assistants, first-year certified nursing assistants, and first-year non-ISBE licensed nurse. The suggested motion be it resolved that all first-year teacher assistants, all first-year certified nursing assistants, and first-year non-ISBE licensed nurses as presented, not be reemployed for the 2021-2022 school year due to a decrease in the number of positions available at this time. Be it further resolved that said employees be notified by personal service by the Board of Education Secretary of their terminations and honorable dismissals as teacher assistants, certified nursing assistants, and or non-ISBE licensed nurses in this school district in accordance with the Illinois School Code. If personal service cannot be made, the notices shall be sent by certified mail, return receipt requested. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Just, I think probably we should make a comment in regards to this, because I know that there's a lot of good qualified people, but the reason that we have to do this is if we continue, we would have to pay for that staff and we may not need them. I don't know if Dr. Small would want to add anything or no.
Yes, what you said is true. This is our standard practice in terms of the release of the employee groups that are on there. And then as our staffing becomes more definitive, we start to bring them back. And we certainly, this official notification that they receive, they've also received informal communications with us. So they understand what's happening and why it's happening.
And why we have to do this.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. Next, we have our one-to-one program and electronic device purchase. We have a suggested motion that the Board of Education authorizes the district to purchase 4,300 iPads from Apple at a total cost of $1,264,200 to support the one-to-one learning program during the 2021-2022 school year. Can someone please move that?
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
Question, we may not know the answer to this. I understand that there's a worldwide chip shortage. Are they going to be, do we know if they're going to be able to provide that many computers?
Apple has not notified us of any anticipated problems delivering products to us, but we are working to get this purchase order to them as quickly as possible so that we can be in their queue, similar to how we did last year. You may or may not recall, but we were concerned of possible slowdowns in production a year ago. Apple was able to deliver on time at that point, and we're hopeful that will be true as well here.
Thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our technology staff. This year has certainly been an extremely important year in terms of their ability to keep us up running and functional. They have done a tremendous job behind that. We could not have functioned at the level we did without their continual support and problem solving to make opportunities happen for our staff and our students.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. Next, we have early morning work sessions. We have a suggested motion that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to implement 12 morning work sessions, each of which would be 75 minutes on the following Tuesdays: August 24, 2021, September 7, 2021, September 21, 2021, October 26, 2021, November 9, 2021, December 7, 2021, January 18, 2022, February 1, 2022, February 15, 2022, March 1, 2022, March 15, 2022, and April 19, 2022. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. That will bring us to the sale of surplus school property. We have a suggested motion that the Board of Education authorize the sale of used surplus Bobcat commercial walk-behind lawnmower model number 93001, Coates model 5060A tire changing machine, 1995 HTP model 200 MIG welder, 1990 Lincoln Electric Power 225 MIG welder, 2001 Rotary Model SP018 Vehicle Frame Lift, and Delta Rockwell Model 43-340 Heavy Duty Shaper by way of public sealed bid, public auction site, or company trade-in. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz. Aye. Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. Next, we have potential topics for future discussion. Does anyone have anything? Okay, that will bring us to committee reports. First, we have Northwest Suburban Special Education Organization, Ms. Klimkowitz.
Okay, thank you. We had our meeting last night, and our shining stars were students from the deaf and hard of hearing. There was a student from District 65 and District 63. They talked about the activities that the students are involved in. One of the students has cochlear implants and is working with the staff and doing extremely well. They also talked about the continuous improvement plan, and goal number 5 was collaborative partnerships. And keeping with the deaf and hard of hearing, they talked about partnerships in the satellite classrooms that they have, of utilizing the audiologists, the occupational therapists, speech and language at the different schools where they're located. The shared vision is to continue with the progress for the students, targeting their goals, and working with Ann and Robert Laurie Children's Hospital in regards to the cochlear implants. They're also looking at the family support and behavior and mental health for students that have the deaf and hard of hearing. One of the things that NSSEO does is they started something, I think it was the beginning of the school year, what they called Heartbeat of the Week. And that was their way of recognizing a particular teacher or staff member for everything that they do during the week. And they have kind of a placard that has the symbols for your heart monitor type of a thing. And they would go and into the classroom while the teacher is teaching, whether it's in person or whether it's with the virtual learning, and congratulate the teacher or the staff member for doing that. At the last time they did the audiology team, so there were 4 people that were recognized for that. So that was a good recognition for them to be doing. Dr. Hackett has been involved with what they're calling positive pathways forward in special education. And I believe that we're involved in that also. And it's a group of special ed leaders, Illinois State Board of Ed, special education, and some of the attorneys that are involved in special ed. And the group is together to take a look at what are some of the roles and responsibilities for students with special needs across the state. The group has a number of leaders. It has representatives from large and small districts, from cooperatives. And again, they're looking to be forward thinking and being innovative for what needs to be done for our special needs students. They're also looking to address the social, emotional, and behavioral needs for students. So this is something that's continuous, and it'll be ongoing, and they're looking to see what some of the next steps are, building those teams, sharing experiences, sharing information, and also promoting a lot more for special needs students. One of the other things that they presented to us is they're applying for a grant. It's the Illinois Service Resource Center funding opportunity. And this particular grant is for students, children and adolescents through the age of 21 who are deaf or hard of hearing, and that may have behavioral, emotional, or mental health challenges, along with the deaf and hard of hearing. So they're applying for this grant. There's a strong possibility that they'll get the grant, and it's a 5-year grant, so it would be continuous, and it would definitely benefit all of our districts with extra services that would be provided, professional development, training, and networking opportunities. And the last thing that I have is we will be getting our budget. The budget has been put together. It's been forwarded to Dr. Small, and then she'll send it out so we can take a look at it next month. And then the goal is that we come back to NSSEO in June, and that's where the board would, the liaisons would vote on it. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that will bring us to Education, Research, Development, Legislative Report. This is Klimko.
There's a meeting tomorrow. Zoom.
Thank you.
Before moving on to announcements, I'd like to make another report, if that's all right.
Sure.
I'd like to take a moment as the liaison to the IASB and offer a certificate of appreciation to our board member, Mrs. Anna Klimkowitz, for serving on the IASB Executive Committee for the 2019-2021 term. This certificate is presented from IASB directly to and for Mrs. Klimkowitz in recognizing the time and effort she devotes to serving the entire IASB division and recognizing her dedicated service to others, leadership, and striving to achieve the association's mission of building excellence in local school governance. So congratulations, Mrs. Klimkowitz. I will give you this certificate at the conclusion of tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to serve.
Thank you. All right, that will bring us to announcements. If there are no questions about the announcements or upcoming events. And then finally, we have a suggested motion related to non-union employees' salary schedules. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve a total salary allocation for technology, transportation, clerical exempt, and management employees at an overall increase of 1.9% over the 2020-2021 school year, effective July 1, 2021, for the 2021-2022 school year. Can someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, based on everything that's going on in the community with people that have been placed out of work, and with being able to maintain all of our staff and not having to furlough and making a lot of accommodations. From my perspective, I think this might be a little bit more generous than I think our community would be willing to support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Young.
Excuse me.
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Cavill.
I see these staff members as members of our community as well. And they're not just staff, that live at the schools. I see these as integral members of our community. And I appreciate that the performance also is, in many cases, tied to the raise. And so I appreciate that these increases reward the excellent work that we expect from our staff. Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Nay.
Ms. Cavill.
Aye.
Mr. Kramer.
Abstain.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye.
Mr. LaFever.
Aye. All right, if there's nothing else.
I have a real quick question before we close. At the last board meeting, there was discussion around changing the timing in the agenda on the Pledge of Allegiance, and I know it was not recited at the beginning of the meeting, but it was recited at the beginning of open session this evening. I was wondering if there's any other discussion around, I had made a possible suggestion that we do it twice. Once at the beginning of the official meeting, and then once again at open session when there's more attendance and we have people in the audience and such. I'd like to discuss the possibility of still having it twice, once at the beginning of the regular meeting, and then once again during open session when people who come into the audience and come to attend the meeting are present to also participate in that. Can I ask for some discussion around that?
Yeah, do you want to put that on the agenda for the next meeting? And then people can be prepared to deal with that?
And with that also, I noticed that unless I'm mistaken, we don't do the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the Finance and Budget Committee meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'd like to also put that on the agenda as part of this discussion around, maybe because that is a normal meeting of business of this Board of Education, that we discuss having the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of that meeting as well.
In our research, the Pledge of Allegiance is not required for these meetings. This is information component.
Okay. If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.